All right, you guys, live. Thought I get a live stream in right quick before I call it at night. Because I work that afternoon shift, so going into the night, so I get a quick live stream in. So I'm gonna recap some of tonight's fights and some upcoming fights. So I'll talk about that right quick. So you know, um, I guess I'll talk about the Angulo fight, get him out the way. Then I'll talk about Ramirez post out, and then I'll talk about Lara. So as far as Angulo go, I think Angulo, as I said in my video, I think he needs to seriously consider retirement before he suffers the same fate Muhammad Ali suffered. I mean, the fight with him versus you know um, Hernandez, those guys landed a combined 600 punches on each other. So if you was looking for defense, that wasn't a fight for you. It was a typical video game fight. You know, um, just nothing but offense, no strategy, just go in there and throw a bunch of punches. You know, I'm gonna say this about Angulo. He what you call just a he just a little bit above average. He's a good fighter. He's not elite. He's not great, and that's just the bottom line. I mean, he got a victory over Peter Quillen, but at the end of the day, it was always a question on how good Peter Quillen was. You know, so Angulo, he just gonna be known when his career is over. People just gonna say he was just a tough fighter who fought a lot of wars, and then that's just gonna be the bottom line with him. Because at the end of the day, he really, you know, he just really, he really wasn't what you would call an elite fighter. I mean, he got blasted by Canelo. I mean, he gave Laura a tough fight, but Laura eventually figured it out, and he got him up out of there. Whether he knocked him down twice, at the end of the day, he didn't win the fight. And I know you remember the James Kirkland fight. You know, I was surprised that he beat Peter Quillen, to be honest with you. But then after seeing him beat Peter Quillen, then it made you wonder like how good Peter Quillen was. I think Peter Quillen never really recovered from that first round knockout from Daniel Jacobs. So I'm just keeping it 100. Like I said before, um, he reminded me of John Molina. He didn't took way too much punishment in his fights. Like I said before, most of the people that like that style of fighting where you just have a dude that's just all offense, no defense, are dudes who have never fought. Oh, for now, what's going on, man? Uh, you gonna have to put me on OG Talk, man. You gonna have to put me on OG Talk. Appreciate that donation. So, hey, the funny part about it is, I was gonna have Fanon start covering fights on my behalf because I got tired of that bullshit, them politics with covering them fights. So I was going, me and 7-8 was finna set that up, but now I don't even think that's feasible right now. So I don't even think that's feasible right now because I just don't think they gonna let people back in there because behind the scenes they was just doing a lot of hating. Like I said, they only want certain type of media there, if you catch my drift. So so, so I don't think I don't think you're gonna be seeing me covering any fights anymore. And besides, uh, you know, that traveling and shit kind of get on your nerve after a while. But it was fun though. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of glad I don't cover fights no more because you already know. Oh, I'll set it up one day. Cause like when Fanon doing this show, like I'll be like sleep because I'll work like the afternoon night shift, but I catch it later on the rebroadcast. But we'll put it together. But yeah, nevertheless, Angulo, that man is going that man gonna be like Terry Norris, Thomas Hearns, probably by the time he 50, where he not gonna be able to hardly talk. To just see a dude just get punched that many times. He don't move his head. He don't move his head. He just stand there and just let people tee off on him. And I'm asking as a fan, do you really want to see that type of shit? Where you don't want to see no strategy, where you just want to see just all offense. Like I said, I might as well just put on I might as well just play Mike Tyson Punch Out and put it on easy level, or put on you know uh what was that shit that they used to have on Xbox, Fight Night, because that's basically what you saw. And somebody need to tell that man that he need to stop fighting before he seriously gets hurt in a fight. You see it coming, and I don't want to see him like get carried out on the stretcher. And that's just real talk. But he had a good career. Oh yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah, but Angulo, that man need to stop fighting. I met that dude in Bakersfield when I went to cover the his fight with Peter Quillen, and I thought that was like what you would call the last hurrah. But after what I saw tonight, he need to quit, and he need to quit soon. So, all right. So that's all I have to say about that. Now let me talk about Eris Larry Lara. Let me be careful how I say this about him. I think he's a really good fighter, but man, he just do not go for gusto. That was the dude that he should have tried to knock out. I've never seen a man that's so contempt with just going the distance. Like I said, that worked with Floyd Mayweather, but at the end of the day, Floyd could issue enough defense and offense to keep you entertained. I know people would try to say Floyd was a runner and all that kind of stuff, but that was a damn lie. Most of those people don't even know what the fuck they talking about, and I'm just keeping it 100. But Lara is just a dude. He play it safe. He'll throw a couple of punches. He'll throw he's a southpaw. He'll throw his lead left. Then he'll grab you. Then he backs up, resets, come back in. Then he don't let you. What he does is he don't let you initiate your offense. Now that didn't work with Jared Hurd. Jared Hurd made him fight. You know what, Joe? You can go on and say it. I mean, you can go on and say it. I'm trying to be politically correct, but I just know that people were walking out of his fights that he headlined because he don't. I mean, the dude he fought was a dude that they wanted him to stop, and he just won't do it. Like I said before, at the end of the day, we know boxing has a round slash point system where basically the objective is to win on a point system. And out of how many rounds you sanction the fight, try to win the most rounds. But that's how he is. He lives and dies with the fight going to the judges. I just feel if he had been aggressive enough in certain fights, he would have more knockouts because he can punch. The reason why he lost that Canelo fight, there were just times where he didn't try to mix it up enough with Canelo. I thought he won the Canelo fight, but once again, he puts too much faith in the judges. I think that's the problem. I think the ratings for this fight is going to be not good. You just hit the nail on the coffin, and I think a lot of people is turned off by how Lara fights. He doesn't try to mix it up. And you seen he's capable of putting on an entertaining fight. I mean, that fight would you ever thought him and Jared Hurd would have fight of the year? Nobody thought that. Nobody thought that him and Jared Hurd would give us fight of the year. I know. That's the problem. He's always fought like that. Sometimes, sometimes you got to be like, you know what? I'm not leaving this fight in the hands of the judges because he's a Cuban fighter. Cuban fighters are taught to, just outbox their man and try to take as less punishment as possible, which to a certain degree it don't make for what you would call a fan friendly fight. Man, you preaching to the choir. Like I said, we understand that you look, I understand better than anybody. Look, man, you can't knock everybody out. You can't. There's never going to be a fighter that's going to have 100% knockout ratio. But there are some fighters where you just got to be like, I'm going to get this dude up out of here. The dude that he fought wasn't a big puncher. So you got to understand when they put you in the ring with those type of dudes, they kind of expect you at least to try to drop the dude a couple of times or at least have a better offensive put out. Like I said, the dude Sean Porter fought, Sean Porter knew that the dude couldn't hurt him. So Sean Porter took more chances in that fight and he landed his highest punch output in his whole career. Like I said, Lara frustrates the hell out of everybody. But like I said, the dude is too dependent on judges. That's why, in all likelihood, that's why he probably won't ever headline a pay-per-view again. Well, that's because he took chances. Like I said before, you don't have to like knock the dude out, but damn, you gotta like at least let your hands go. Sean was letting his hands go. Sean was more offensive minded than he's ever been. And I think the problem with Sean Porter, I think he waited a little too late in his career to where he started like being more offensive minded. And Kenny has trained him to be more offensive minded. Keep in mind, Sean Porter has been in his last two fights. You look at the Spence fight, he's been more offensive minded and he's entertained the fans. And I just think with Lara, I just think the problem is he's too stuck in his own ways. I think somebody needs to tell him, like, man, when you fight guys like this, we want you to try to stop these guys. That dude he fought wasn't a threat to him. Like I said before, I understand better than anybody. The art of boxing is to hit, not get hit. But at the end of the day, if you fighting the dude that can't really punch, that's not really what you would call as far as power go, a threat to you. Well, hell, by all means, I mean, let it go. See what happens. You always should play it safe. But at the end of the day, if you do research and you say, okay, well, I'm looking at his knockout ratio, I'm looking at the dude's stats. Okay, this dude ain't a big puncher. Then I'm looking at my history like, okay, I haven't been dropped that many times. except by big punchers. Okay, Jared Hurd is a dude that got power. Angulo got power. So I'm gonna take my chances, and I'm gonna be more offensive minded in this fight. So, like I said, I expect the ratings for this fight not to be that good. Lamonte, you once again, you right. He has power. He can punch, but he too content with just trying to win rounds and play it safe. Look, I understand. At the end of the day, boxing is the entertainment business. Floyd cornered Floyd cornered the market on defense and offense combined. You can't have everybody fight like Floyd. Like I said before, guys like the dude he fought, Vendetti, or whatever his name is, Al Heyman put that dude in the ring with Lara for him to stop him. And well, that's another misconception about Floyd too, that people, this is why I know a lot of these people don't really watch boxing, because when Floyd was Pretty Boy Floyd, Floyd had like an 80% knockout ratio. Floyd was getting people up out of there. Floyd didn't stop getting like knockouts really till he like moved up to welterweight. That's when his knockout rate ratio declined. But when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he used to get him up out of there. Well, I mean, I just got to be honest with you, Lamonte. I can't tell you that you lying. I can't tell you that you wrong. How can I sit up there? Because if I told you you was lying, I would be lying. And that, like I said, if I was Al Heyman, and I'm gonna tell you right now, Laura is gonna stop getting put as a main event. He gonna start being an undercard fighter, and it don't even matter how good he is. If I was Al Heyman, I would tell him, look, man, you got to mix it up a little bit more. You got to take more chances. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Dan Newsom and Lennox Lewis, they was being politically correct. Because I'm going to tell you right now, had he been on HBO, Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant, y'all know, would have been tearing him apart. They would have been tearing him apart. And I'm just keeping it 100. So I'm just keeping it 100. I'm a honest I'm a I'm an honest dude. If Laura was on HBO and he fought the way he fought tonight, those Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant's racist ass, they would have been talking a gang of shit. And I'm gonna tell you right now, had this fight had a live audience, they would have been booing. I know they have the sound effects to make it to where the crowd is cheering, but I'm telling you right now, they would have been booing Lara. And this has been happening a lot with him. And I really think that they gonna consider. I'm pretty sure the other dudes is gonna talk about this. I think that they gonna consider not having him as a main event, because I think he's too too contempt with just trying to get through the fight. So that's just pretty much it. That's just pretty much it. All right, so um let me talk about Jose Ramirez versus Victor Posto. Yeah, he don't. He don't. He don't. But let me talk about Victor Posto versus Jose Ramirez. I gotta be completely honest with you. I know that Jose Ramirez is considering moving up to 147. I'm trying to figure out who could he beat at 147. I don't know about him at 147. I mean, yeah, he's what you would call a good offensive fighter, but you got to wonder, will his will his power carry up there with the guys at 147? Dude gonna get his ass whooped. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Bud is gonna smash Ramirez, and he gonna beat him bad. I don't even think he gonna get past Josh Taylor, but Josh Taylor bruises up a little something something. So I think if he can cut Josh Taylor, he might have a chance. I'm not really that sold on Josh Taylor. I'm not really that impressed with Josh Taylor because I know some people thought he beat Regis. I didn't think he beat Regis. I thought Regis won that fight. It was a split decision. It could have went either way, but I don't think he beat Regis. I think Bud. I still would favor Bud. I don't. I would favor Bud over Josh Taylor. I would favor Bud. I know Bud is getting a lot of flack, which I think the flack is unfair about this Gary Russell Jr. thing. Like I said, I'm not even entertaining the thought of that. I'm not even going to talk about that shit. It's absurd. And for anybody to say that he's ducking Gary Russell Jr., they sound like a fanboy and they sound like the old media. Like I said before, keep in mind, these are the same people. And I'm going to just make this short and sweet. These are the same. A lot of these people that's attacking Bud are black, and they supposed to be so-called, you know, power to the people, whole tip Negroes, but then at the end of the day, they constantly attacking another black man because for whatever reason. So here's the thing. The funny part about it is these people that are attacking Bud is the same dudes that was sitting up there caping for Triple G saying that him fighting Andre Ward didn't make no kind of sense when he was just one weight class under Andre Ward. But they saying a dude that's at 126 should go up like four weight classes to fight Gary Russell Jr. So that just goes to show you. That just goes to show you. You can support Gary Russell Jr. all you want, but him fighting Bud don't make no kind of sense. Money wise, for the record wise, matchup wise, it don't make no kind of sense. But like I was saying, these same people these same whole tip niggas that's attacking Bud that's supposed to be power to the people is the same people that was making excuses, caping for Triple G, a non-black fighter, saying him fighting Andre Ward didn't make no kind of sense. And I could say names, but I'm gonna be cool. These are the same people. And Triple G is one weight class under Andre Ward, and they were saying that fight didn't make no kind of sense. But Gary Russell Jr. versus Bud makes all the sense in the world. So at the end of the day, these dudes like exposing themselves. Now, Jose Ramirez said something very, dude, ain't nobody hating on Gary Russell Jr., man. Ain't nobody hating on Gary Russell Jr. Dude, do you not understand what I just said? 126, 147. You talking about a 20-pound. Gary Russell Jr. can't fucking fight at no 147. Do I need to say it like that? He has no chance against Bud. I know they talking shit via social media. Gary Russell Jr. fights at 126. Bud fight at 147. 147. That fight don't make no kind of sense whatsoever. Okay? I'm not hating on Gary Russell Jr. I'm not hating on Gary Russell Jr. whatsoever. But I'm just saying, for people to say that he should fight Bud and all that type of shit, they sound ridiculous. Bud is in negotiations with Kell Brook. Who in the like I said, now if Bud was to take that fight and when he annihilate Gary Russell Jr., which he would, then what people gonna say? Then people gonna be saying, "Oh, well, Bud should have never took that fight." So, like I said, all this shit that these dudes talking, they like I said, they killing their credibility. Not me, because I'm not touching that shit. I'm just talking about it here. I'm not making no videos talking about that because it makes absolutely no sense for them to fight. Bud is about to more than likely fight Kell Brook if Kell Brook don't pull out of the fight. And y'all know Kell Brook is known for pulling out of fights because Kell Brook is next to impossible. And for people acting like Bud is trying to lowball Kell Brook with 1.5, well, how much do you think Kell Brook is supposed to get? I'm just keeping it 100. Once again, we in a pandemic, and we already know Manny Pacquiao wanted no parts of Bud, so just stop it. Manny Pacquiao had several chances to fight Bud when they was on Top Rank. He didn't want the damn fight. Manny Pacquiao won a big payday versus a low risk fight, so that's why he looking for Conor McGregor or Mikey Garcia because he knows those fights that he can win. Okay. Well, what about when Manny Pacquiao was in his 30s? Okay. Not trying to hear that. He fought Jeff Horn. He lost to Jeff Horn. Bud fought Jeff Horn, took his belt. Manny Pacquiao could have fought to get that belt back. Keep in mind, Manny Pacquiao turned down the rematch with Jeff Horn. I just did say that. I just did say that. And I'm gonna continue to say it. Hey man, look, check this out. Don't bring up Floyd Mayweather. This ain't got shit to do with Floyd Mayweather. Stop doing that Floyd bullshit or I'm gonna block your ass. Stick to the fucking subject. This is my shit. Okay? We not doing that. Okay? Stick to the fucking subject. Once again, stop making excuses for Manny Pacquiao. No, no, he don't. No, he didn't. Okay? He give up that belt, then he can fight whoever he want. Okay, if that's the case, how come Floyd didn't earn the right to fight whoever he fought? Okay, stop trying to change the narrative for Manny Pacquiao. You must be a Manny Pacquiao fan. Get out of here. If Manny Pacquiao give up the belt, he can fight whoever he want to fight. But as long as he holding the belt and he not trying to fight elite fighters, as long as Manny Pacquiao have a belt, he need to fight the best guys out there. When Floyd beat Manny Pacquiao, he gave up the belts. He was three belts. He had three belts, and he was one away from undisputed. So stop it. Stop coming on here trying to cape for Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, duck Bud, and it's that simple. Yeah, he is holding up. Yeah, but yeah, see once again, you making this about Floyd. Stop trying to give Manny a pass. Floyd ain't fighting no more. Floyd gave up the belts. When he fought Andre Berto, it wasn't for a title. When he fought Conor McGregor, it wasn't for a title. Manny Pacquiao took the easiest route to get a belt. He fought Keith Thurman, who hadn't fought like in over a year. Keith Thurman then had maybe 3 fights within the last 4 years, very inactive. Manny Pacquiao fought the weakest link. He could have fought Errol Spence. He said no. He could have fought Errol Spence. He said no. Okay. Now, let's get to this Bud Duck and Errol Spence thing. Both Errol Spence and Bud said it ain't time. Errol Spence said out of his own mouth, and not to mention Derek James said that they not ready for Bud yet. So stop lying. Stop lying. Let me explain something to you. So I didn't start watching boxing last year. Okay, so you lying. Errol Spence said out of his own fucking mouth that the Bud fight needs to marinate. Okay, so stop lying. I'm just, oh man. Did I say Errol Spence is ducking Bud? I just said that both of the dudes said that the fight needs to marinate. But you lying on Bud. Bud didn't, it's not ducking Errol Spence. I mean, if you want to keep getting ethered, I mean, if you want to keep embarrassing yourself, keep coming on here lying. Everybody knows that both Errol Spence and Bud said that the fight is not going to happen right now. And also, I know some shit behind the scenes that, keep in mind, I used to cover fights. I know everything. I know everything I need to know. Do not try to argue with a dude that talked to these people behind the scenes. I know exactly what's going on. Trust me. Now, as I was saying, before I got sidetracked, let me get back to Jose Ramirez versus Victor Postol. I don't. I already said what I needed to say, Sosa, and you getting on my nerve. I already just explained to your ass what's going on. So, no, I mean, you must, yeah, you asking for it, but like I said before, you must be a PBC nut hugger. So, I already done told you, both Bud and Errol Spence already said that the fight is going to eventually happen. I don't have to tell you what I know. You act like you don't understand English. No, I'm just well, Bud versus Gear, dude. You, dude. You mean to tell me you think a dude should move up not one, not two, not three, but like four weight classes? Y'all really want to be disappointed when you see the outcome of that fight because it ain't gonna be good. And I'm telling you now, it ain't gonna be good. And I don't have nothing against Gary Russell Jr., but Gary Russell Jr. need to worry about the dudes that's within reach of his weight classes, the weight classes, the tanks, the the Devin Haney's, which I think Devin Haney is gonna be out of reach with in a minute too. You want to see Gary get what fight? Against Bud? You want to see Gary Russell Jr. fight Bud Crawford? Oh man, you tripping. Mike, you've been here for a minute, but you tripping. You got to stop listening to some of these other channels that's diluting your mind like Gary Russell Jr. have a chance of winning this fight. He not going to win this fight. I'm being completely honest with you. He not going to beat Bud. I don't even think Boots in his and Ortiz. I don't even think they're gonna have a long stint at 147 because both of those dudes are big. Both of those dudes is 5'10", 5'11". So I don't think they're gonna have a very short stint at welterweight. Both of those dudes gonna probably eventually end up fighting at 160. Yeah, that's why they call them weight classes. That's that's why they have weight classes. And amateurs, it's not is and amateurs is different. But in pros, that's a totally different element. Because if that's the case, then shit, then Errol Spence should just fight David Benavidez. And David Benavidez walk around probably 180. Like I said, that's why they have weight classes for a reason. And that's why you gradually move up. It's very rare where you jump up multiple weight classes at one time. But you talked about somebody jumping up 4 weight classes. 4. And to me, if Al Heyman was to even send Bud an offer, he basically telling me that he trying to set Gary Russell Jr. up. I don't think Gary Russell Jr. have better skills than Bud Crawford. Gary Russell Jr. have fast hands, but he don't have the footwork that Bud have, and he not bouncy like Bud. I just I'm telling you, it's gonna be a disaster. I'm gonna be honest with you. If Caleb Plant and David Benavidez don't get made within the next, I'll say the next year, I don't think that fight gonna happen. I think David Benavidez is gonna move to 175. I mean, if they didn't have weight classes, then if that's the case, then they have weight classes for a reason, bro. Because if that's the case, skills pay the bills. Then if skills pay the bill, then I'll tell you what. Um, put put Sean Porter in the ring with Wilder or Joshua. If weight classes don't mean shit. If that's the case. If that's the case, then everybody should fight everybody. So that means Leo Santa Cruz should fight. If weight classes are overrated and they not needed, then Leo Santa Cruz should fight Arthur Beterbiev and see how that fight would turn out for him. So, I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Y'all not being realistic. That's sparring. They have on headgear and they have on 18-ounce gloves. I'm just telling you, man. I'm telling you, it's gonna end bad for Gary Russell Jr. if they try to make that fight. Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I remember the great. They've been talking about Errol Spence versus Canelo for a minute. Um, See, here's the thing. Canelo is between 60 and 175. Errol still is at 147. So for him and Canelo to fight, Errol probably have to move up. Errol probably at the very least would have to move up two weight classes for a Canelo fight and at 160. And I think that might would be tough for Errol Spence due to the fact that Errol hasn't had any fights at 154 or 160. And I think to ask Errol to jump up two weight classes to fight Canelo, I think that wouldn't be fair to Errol Spence. At least if you want to set a fight like that up for Errol Spence, at least let Errol get two fights at 154 to get comfortable fighting at 154, even though Errol Spence started at a higher weight class, but he's been fighting at 147 for a while. He still would have to readjust to fighting at that weight class. Are you serious? You really think that less a bud to where you think he gonna lose to Gary Russell Jr.? Are you serious? Well, okay. Well, let me ask you this, man. You tripping, Mike? You tripping real hard. Well, Bud finna fight Kell Brook in all likelihood, and that's a fight that y'all begged him to take. So you can't sit up there and complain about Kell Brook because y'all been calling for over a year for him to fight him. So it seemed that y'all finna change the narrative if this fight get made. I mean, and for real, that's old media shit. I'm new media. I don't do, and 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 what do that mean? What do that mean? He talking reckless. I'm not paying no attention to Derek James. Well, you tell well then why don't Errol Spence fight him then? We'll tell Errol Spence to fight him then. I think Errol Spence needs to worry about Danny Garcia instead of worried about what Bud doing because, like I said, I'm not paying attention to Derek James. Derek James know better than that. But like I said, y'all been listening to other people like egging y'all on about that shit. But nah, shouldn't happen because, like I said, as soon as the fight happened and Bud smash Gary Russell Jr., y'all gonna be mad at Bud and y'all instead of you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying it don't matter what Gary Russell Jr. is saying. Gary Russell Jr. is too small. Yeah, I think the fight is gonna jump off. I think it's gonna be I think that fight is gonna happen. Cause at the end of the day, Kell Brook need another high profile fight. What's up? All right. I'm all right. I'm done talking about this Bud Gary Russell Jr. thing. If y'all want to hear that nonsense, y'all go on them other channels. I'm not like I said. I'm done talking about that. I'm not entertaining that no more. Let me talk about a real possible fight that can happen. Like I said, let me get back to Jose Ramirez versus Victor Postol. Now, you had some people that believe that Victor Postol did enough to win that fight. I had Jose Ramirez winning that fight 7 rounds to 5. I just thought he looked better. I thought he looked better landing his shots versus Victor Postol. Victor Postol just relied strictly on his jab, and every once in a while he would throw a lead right and throw a couple of combinations, but he didn't have an all around attack. One thing about Jose Ramirez, his bread and butter is fighting on the inside and attacking the body so he can go upstairs. And he just did a better job of initiating his offense versus Victor Postol. Wasn't no robbery, could have went either way. But let's just be logical, ladies and gentlemen, whoever listening to this stream. There's no way that they was gonna let Victor Postol leave there with a W unless he knocked Jose Ramirez down multiple times, like knocked him down 3 or 4 times, or just flat out knocked him out. We already knew if it was a close fight, it was gonna go in favor of Jose Ramirez. Now Victor Postol fought good enough to get him a couple of more solid fights. Postal was too gun shy at times. Postal was too man. I'm just telling you now. Um, I just have my reservations with Ramirez at 147. I'm just wondering how would he fare against some of those guys at 147. You know, he one of them dudes. He don't do nothing like very well except go to the body. Now he real good at going to the body, but as far as just being an all around fighter, I just see a lot of things that other fighters could exploit because at the end of the day, he can be hit. You can land you can land some punches on him because there was like a right that Postal landed that shook him, and I think Bud would stop him. The Josh Taylor fight is gonna be interesting because that's gonna more than likely be for undisputed. Josh Taylor have a fight I think coming up next month. If he win, we already know that you could possibly get a December January showdown between and um Ramirez and Josh Taylor. That's what Top Rank won't. That's what Top Rank won't. And then they're hoping that Ramirez wins the fight because basically, if Ramirez wins the fight, he probably get 1 or 2 fights at 147, and then they could set him up with a fight with Bud. They're gonna try to make the Josh Taylor fight immediately. So if Josh Taylor, let's just say Josh Taylor goes in there, let's just say he makes short work of the dude that he's fighting. You can see, let's see, October, November, December. Like I said before, you could probably get Josh Taylor, Ramirez by the end of 2020. January, probably the latest. Because they want to get that fight made right away. And then depending on what's going on um, with the pandemic, they might could have the fight with a live audience, which I think by December you're gonna see fights with live audience again. I'm just keeping it 100 because they already announced where I'm at in California. They can start opening shit back up as early as Monday. Like depending on what county you in and what area you in, the indoor malls are about to open back up. Some of the barbershops about to open back up. So keep in mind the Rams and the Chargers announced that they new $5 billion stadium said they basically said won't have a live audience for the time being. They said until further notice. And usually further notice mean they gonna try to work something out as quick as possible. So like I said before, I think by the end of the year, you will see fights with a live audience. Now, from what I heard, don't quote me on this, and I'm gonna tell you this before I end in the broadcast. From what I heard, hey, what's up, Michelle? This is what I heard. Errol Spence and Danny Garcia could take place in Cowboy Stadium. They already announced that they're gonna have a live audience at, I think, the Cowboys' third home game, and by then I think they said that stadiums can go to 20, anywhere from 15 to 25% capacity. Cowboy Stadium holds 100,000 people, so that mean they'll be able to at least squeeze 20,000 people up in there, you know. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if Errol Spence and if Errol Spence and Danny Garcia have a live audience, I think I'm going to Dallas. I might go to Dallas. I'm just waiting to see. Now, as long as they don't try to like destroy your pockets as far as the ticket prices go, then yeah, I'll be there. But anyway, I'll be back later on. Thanks for listening. This Town Biz, I'm out.